Fantastic, guys, and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We welcome to the incredible APAC Zoom calls. Today, I have an incredible speaker for you, okay? An Olympic champion and nutritionist, okay, that literally works around the world. And I know you come from, the Scandinavian countries, and you've been a great ambassador for these guys in some of your things that have happened in your life and that you've achieved in life. What I'd like, Anne, for you to do is just give us a quick 1 or 2 minute history lesson before we go into the presentation about test-based nutrition.
So, hi everyone, I'm delighted to be with you tonight, and I can't wait to show you what I have put together for you. So I'm Danish, I'm living in Switzerland, I have 4 kids, and I have been in sport and nutrition, I would say, most of my life. I'm married to a Tour de France winner, so all in our life is about sport and nutrition. My kids are athletes, so everything is turning around this topic. So that's why I'm so delighted to be here with you tonight.
Fantastic, Anne. So let's get into this test-based nutrition, okay? I know that that's one of the key elements why you love Zenzino as a company, because you can test, then use the product, then test to prove the products are working. I just can't wait for your presentation. Let's go straight into it.
Yeah, and before I start, I would say the reason why I'm here is actually the test, because I tried so many products in my life and I was like, yeah, just another omega-3. And then suddenly there was a test and I was like, then I'm curious. So let's have a look at what I have put together, and I'm ready for questions afterwards if you want it.
Fantastic. Appreciate it, Anne.
So tonight, we're going to talk about the test-based nutrition that we have in Zenzino. And as I said before, the only reason, I would say, maybe not the only, but the biggest reason why I'm here is actually that we have tests. So in sports where I'm coming from, everything that we can measure, we can improve. If we can't measure it, it's very hard to improve. So let's have a look at what that means. This is a quote from our Dr. Colin Robertson, who is one of the main participants in our advisory board in Zenzino. And he had a speech a few months ago where he was talking about sports and why he's actually with Zenzino. And he had this quote that our nutrition directly impacts how we remodel and repair. And I thought that was such a good start for tonight. So we go right into it. And this is a model that is inspired by Asper Jenkins-Drupp, who is a sport nutritionist, quite famous, made a lot of books. And what he talks about is that at the bottom of the pyramid, we have a diet, our balanced diet. And before we go into anything else, we need to have that diet in place. And I remember when some of the first times I was speaking to my athletes, now they know what I mean and how I approach things. They were talking about, oh, could we please do this and this and this and this? And we're talking about like protein powder, creatine, caffeine, everything that is on the top of the pyramid, so supplements. And I was always saying, no, we need to get the foundation in place. If we start at the top of the pyramid with the supplements, we cannot make that work at the best level because your cells are not in balance. So what I mean by a balanced diet is that we need the macro, the micronutrients in place, and of course also the fluids. So what does that mean for an athlete? Oh, sorry. Okay, so if I look at what an athlete eats, we actually try our best to give them good nutrition, but it's not so easy. There are so many people out there, so many companies out there that wants to be on top of the game, and they provide a lot of sometimes quite good products, but most of the time these products are processed. They're very low nutrition density. They're high in sugars. They have so many empty calories. They're low in fibers. They don't have very good relationship between the healthy fats. And that's why we get this imbalance between omega-6 and 3. So athletes today do not really eat very differently than normal people, than you and me. Even professional teams So I have been working as a nutritionist with some of the professional cycling teams out there. And what you see here is a food truck. So one of the first teams in the world to actually introduce a food truck was Tinkoff Saxo Bank. And I was working with their chef. And as you see here, the breakfast is pretty much what you can find in many places, very refined, very processed. Of course, then we have a chef and she is amazing and she did make amazing food. But anyway, it is not always easy for athletes to actually get what they need. So even though that you have a professional chef there traveling with you that has this kitchen just right outside the hotels, these athletes had problems because we were testing them. So we did test them, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this. So in conclusion, what we also see, not just in me and you, regular people, but also in athletes, is that they actually lack key nutrients and they have this imbalance of omega-6 and 3. How does that affect, let's say, their recovery, their way, how well they perform? It is quite interesting because not a lot of people are thinking about this. But if your cells are not in balance, meaning that your cell membrane is hard, it's rigid, your nutrients, everything that you're eating, all the good stuff that you pay a lot of money to eat is not getting into the cell. And all the waste products that is happening inside of the cell, our little production plant inside, does not get out. So what we do when we actually get our cells into balance is that we get a soft membrane, it's very flexible, and it reduces inflammation around the cell. So that means that everything in your body works at optimal levels. So there are, of course, a lot of studies around omega-3 and athletes, but they're not very, let's say, congruent. They're not all of them showing that omega-3 is beneficial for athletes. So most of these studies are not made with, let's say, high quality products, or they're made in ways that where it's very difficult to actually determine whether it is positive or negative for you to have omega-3. But we do know, and we have so many so much feedback on what we're doing, that we can actually see how much this is helping, how much the omega-3, our balance oil, is helping athletes. And of course, if you go and look, there will be a lot of studies, but they're not all showing that omega-3 is beneficial. But we do know that if you look at the Olympic Committee, they do recommend dosages of about 2 grams a day of omega-3. And we actually recommend a little bit more. But you can also get this from fatty fish. But today, if you look at fatty fish, it is not, let's say, a clean fish. You will get a lot of toxins if you just eat fish. And it's quite hard to get enough. So what I recommend is actually to take a supplement. The potential effects of omega-3 for athletes is improved performance, enhanced recovery, and reduced risk of illness and injury. And also what I have found is very, very important is improved cognitive function. When you are an athlete at a top level, you have so much stress in your life, and you need to be so focused on everything that is around, not on everything around you, but on your sport. And with everything going around in the world today, that is not very easy. I believe you have seen, especially I think in tennis lately, we have seen a lot of the girls having really, really tough times mentally. And of course, because of the time we're living in, it is not an easy place to be. So being as strong as possible, not just physically, but also mentally, is very important for our athletes. So let's dive a little bit into what actually can be beneficial. So we know that if you are in balance and if you have enough omega-3 in your body, you can actually deliver more oxygen out to your cells. And of course, that will enhance performance. Also, muscle growth. There are evidence from studies that people taking supplementation from omega-3 actually facilitate growth when we do strength training. Also, what I found very interesting is that we reduce inflammation because every time we train, every time we break down, we do something hard, we're trying to break down muscle to repair, to be stronger. What we have found in some studies is that when you have an optimal level of omega-3, and we talk about a little bit later what that is, when you have an optimal level of omega-3, we actually see that the breakdown is less, but the buildup is more, which is maybe not regular science here, or knowledge, I mean, but it is actually quite interesting when you can find that you can have optimal levels of omega-3, so your breakdown of the muscle is less, but the buildup, so it becomes stronger, even though that you break down less. That is an interesting fact here. Another one, as I just talked about, is to improve mood and emotional states. So the stress of being an athlete is already huge. But again, with everything going around, we also know that that is maybe even have an even harder time. This is also interesting. We have found in some studies that faster reaction times have been shown, and we know that now we see skiing here, and this is Hector. It's actually an Olympic champion that is also sponsored by Zinzino, and we know that if just a hundredth of a second can change from goal to fourth place. Can you imagine if you could actually, because you have an optimal level of omega-3, that your reaction times will improve, how much that can change from being the gold medalist to being number 4. Another very important part of this is also immune function. And I'm going to talk about that later a little bit more, because we have another thing I'm going to talk about also, not just the balance oil. Especially, we've seen this in athletes that are training a lot, and especially if they're outdoors. So marathon runners or runners in general and cyclists, they have a lot of upper respiratory tract infections. And we have actually seen that this can help them reduce the length, but also just the whole fact that they're getting it. So very, very interesting when we talk about omega-3, we talk about vitamin D. So I think most of you have heard about the terminology of marginal gains, and it's become quite popular and famous, especially in cycling. And to recap this a little bit, is that no matter how small or apparently insignificant, you should look to make all possible improvements. So in sports, what we're looking for is not just a few things. We're looking to try to improve every little thing in everything we do. If you can improve 1% in many little things, that will add up to a lot of percentage to actually have become better. And in nutrition, for most people, just people, but not just athletes, but also people, there is a lot to gain still. So what we can do here is that we can test and we can measure. And we in Zinzino have this opportunity to offer a balance test, which is done in Vitas Analytical Services. It's a very big laboratory, very well known in dry spot testing. And it is used by Howard, it's used by University of Cambridge. It's very famous in the world of laboratories. And what they do is that they have a possibility to do dry blood spot testing. And we see there how our fatty acids are put in our bodies. And what I have here is a test before that this girl has started with balance oil, and then a second test, which is taking normally we take 4 to 5 years later, but she was traveling a lot. So this is actually taking a year, normally we take 4 to 6 months after the start of the product. You start with the product, but this is taken a year later. So we have the initial test from when she started with the product, and then we have afterwards, we have a test taken a year later. What you see on the left is some measurements that can maybe look a little strange, but if you dive a little bit deeper into these, they're quite important to actually know when you try to improve these marginal gains. So if you remember the food pyramid I showed you in the beginning, what we're talking about here when we talk about omega-3 is actually your diet. Many people will say that a supplement like omega-3 is a supplement. But if you know that this supplement, this omega-3, this balanced oil will improve on cellular level, it is not a supplement anymore, it's actually food. So what we have done here is that we have shown her that her diet is not optimal, it's not balanced. Because what you see on the left is her omega-3 level in general in her body. You also see the balance. And if you remember at the beginning, I said that the balance between omega-3 and omega-6 is actually something that you can talk about how much inflammation you have on a cellular level. So when she has an omega-3 level of 4, we want her to go above 8. When she goes above 8, we have less inflammatory state in the body and we recover faster. When we have an omega-6-3 balance, that is, as you can see here on the red, 12.5 to 1, we also know that in her cell membrane, it is not optimal between omega-6 and omega-3. We need that to be around 3. So if you go on the right side, you can see that she actually, during her travel, had a lot of balanced oil, and she raised the level of her omega-3 up till 6.8. She's not quite there yet. We need to go above 8. But she also got her balance down to 3.3 from 12.5. So she's in a very good place for recovery. And that was also her feedback. So she was very happy. She had reduced soreness. She said, oh, I sleep better. She was, her skin looked better. She was even feeling her skin, her nails, her everything tissue-wise was improving. And also she felt stronger mentally. So what we use the balance test for when we have athletes, and also just for you and me, for regular people, is that we can determine if your diet, what you eat every day, is in balance. And I find that quite extraordinary. And it's a very cheap way to actually determine whether you are on the right track or not. So what we do is that we test before we start using the balance oil. And then after 4 to 6 months, you retest. Now, in my world, I'm around athletes, so I retest every 6 months. Because what I found is that season, so if you're training a lot, if you're under a lot of stress, you actually can consume more. Meaning that you don't have, you maybe say, okay, I need 10 milliliters because it is based on your body weight. If you need 10 milliliters, maybe that is not enough during winter time. So for me to be able to help my athletes at the very best, we do different testings, but we also do balance test. And for balance test, when I show them, it is so easy to correct. So it is a personalized nutrition. And of course, we also, as we have talked about before, it's a certified product, and it is approved by VADA through Informed Sports. So no risk to take this product. But I have found that using this test, I have a much easier way to explain my athletes what they're eating might have to be adjusted, but it is an easy way for me to help them when they're traveling, when it's tough to be on top of your diet. you know that when you have balanced oil and you do that correctly with as much as needed, so the right amount, you can actually have your cell membrane in order. That means a lot of a difference to whether you recover, your sleep, but also maybe faster reaction times and all of the things we just talked about. So for me, this has been a game changer in how I speak and talk to my athletes and how they understand better about nutrition. So I know that you have in Australia and maybe also somewhere else around in Asia, you have just gotten the vitamin D test. And I wanted to talk a little bit about vitamin D for athletes, because there is not a lot of studies around it, but I know lately we have talked a lot about vitamin D. And maybe most of you know that vitamin D we're getting from the sun, but especially living on the Northern Hemisphere, we are not getting as much as maybe you do in Australia and in Asian Pacific. But we have measures that actually show us that not everybody, even though that they live in sunny places, are getting enough sun. And what vitamin D can do for athletes is that we have better bone health, meaning less stress fractures. We have better muscle function, stronger muscles, but especially immune function. And again, also here, upper respiratory tract infections. So having this test now, that is a very cheap test, to be able to show athletes that either they need to get out in the sun or they need to take some kind of supplementation. And in the Balance On, we actually have vitamin D. And what I wanted to show you very briefly here is from a study made. And here we're talking about very low levels. So we talk about below 20 nanogram per milliliters. I'm not sure what the measurements are in Australia, but that's what we use here in Europe. And as you see here, even Australian, as you can see, number 4, Middle Eastern, so also Australian gymnasts, indoor female, 33% of them are insufficient in vitamin D. Just imagine that if you're a gymnast and you have not have healthy bones because you're lacking vitamin D, what do you think that can cause then? I mean, stress fractures, maybe whatever, when they're jumping, they're falling down. I would love for my vitamin D levels to be optimal in any of these sports. So if you are a recreational athlete, I would even suggest that you get your levels tested, because this is very important for immune function, but also for your overall health and also for your performance. When we talk about vitamin D testing, I prefer to do that 3 times a year. And why is that? So if I do testing, what we know is that we get it from the sun. Here in Europe, especially in Northern Europe, we know that we only have 4 months a year where we actually get vitamin D from the sun, because that has to do with how the sun is touching the earth and everything. It's a longer story, but 4 months a year. So we know that maybe in start of spring, we're very low. And then we go the summer, we get more, we are outside, we get vitamin D. So I will test at the end of the summer. I will make sure that my athlete has enough, because I know that during winter, they are not exposed to the sun. So then again, after maybe after Christmas, I'll measure them again. And so often I see they need to supplement with vitamin D. And I actually asked them to supplement most of them all year round, depending, of course, where they are, if they're a lot outside or inside. But I can tell you also a story about cyclists, so professional athletes in cycling. We tested them for vitamin D in, I believe it was in January. It was right after Tour Down Under, which is in January. And most of them came back insufficient in vitamin D. So even athletes that are outside all the time, you don't always have the possibility to create or produce enough vitamin D, because you're covered. So if you're not outside exposed to sun without clothes on, your production of vitamin D is not as sufficient as if you were outside on the beach. So even athletes that are outside all the time are not always have optimal levels of vitamin D. So I prefer to have my athletes tested minimum twice a year, but I prefer actually to do that 3 times a year to make sure that they have enough all the time. So that was what I had for you guys today. And just a second. I hope that that was a little more clear why we're testing and how we're using it. And I would also say that not just for athletes, but for everyone. I like to be on top of things, and I like to know if I'm doing the right things.
Look, Anne, and that's some of the core things that I love about some of the information that you just shared with us. That it makes people think, or as I call it, it's a checkup from the neck up on what you're doing with the wellness or looking after your cellular structure. Now, I noticed that you focused on the balance test and the vitamin D test, okay? These are core parts of this program, okay? By having the omega test and then also the vitamin D test, this is a key part of your structure of your body. Can you, those people that are listening as guests, can you just give them sort of 1 minute of, guys, you have to go do this now? Can you just give them a 1 minute? I know the information you just gave, but I want another reminder. And then I'm going to talk about just a couple of the core products as we've got a few extra minutes up our sleeve.
So you mean why to do the testing?
Yep.
Yeah. So as I just shared, it is not just for athletes. So it is a core strategy to be able to understand how your diet is working on you, because it is personalized and not everybody has the same effect on different diets. And a lot of us have and are following different diets, but I can tell you as a nutritionist, I was following paleo diet, and I was not in balance, and I was quite shocked. So I had to rethink everything that I did 8 years ago when I got first introduced to Sensino, and it has helped tremendously because I knew a lot of testing, I knew a lot about nutrition, but I was not aware of this thing called fatty acid measurements in this way. So I would actually tell everybody to go and get tested, because you might think that you do the things right, but how do you know? Because one thing is how we look, another thing is what is inside. And this test, the balance test, will show you exactly how your diet is working on you.
So now let's talk.
Yeah, and what you're missing.
Yeah, exactly right. Now let's talk as a naturopath, okay? So the building blocks are, we've got the balance test. Number 1. Now we're going to add in the vitamin D, and we're going to add in the richness of the polyphenols of the olive oil, and then all the required omegas. So the next step is obviously your balanced oil. So as we're building this, guys, we have the standard balanced oil plus, then we have the premium balanced oil plus, which is plus means all natural, that's what it means. And then here in Australia, we've just released the Therapeutics Goods Administration listing number, okay, on our Ascent Premium. So this is the capsules of the black bottle. So right now, this is into the next production run right now. But if you do want the premium oil, it comes in a capsule format. So, and that next step, so step 2, talk to me about those core 2 products on why people maybe should be taking the premium over the balanced oil. Just again, a 1 minute snapshot.
Yeah, so I have been using the balanced oil for a long time now. And what I experienced when I went actually to take the premium was that I saw some improvements in my skin and also inflammation in skin. But I also found that I had more possibilities. So my tiredness was less. And I was quite surprised by that, actually. But sometimes I also have to say, I take the whole range of Sensino products. So sometimes it's actually even difficult to understand how it is working. But I can tell you that we've done some testing, and we have seen that the balance oil will get you into balance. But if you struggle, and there are some people struggling getting into balance because you might have some immune functions that are not optimal, you might have some digestive issues. And to be honest, the one that we have seen, the two ones we've seen getting you in very optimal health and balance is actually the vegan oil and the premium. So those two are not by far, but are very strong. And just the whole amount of polyphenols that is in the premium is just amazing. I have the Revo and I use it on my salad every day. So I even get an extra boost. And just also to the new capsules, oh gosh, have we been waiting for that? It's just amazing. So especially for athletes, because many of my athletes travels a lot and it's sometimes hard to have the bottle. So I wanted them to have the best of the best, which is the premium oil. But to travel, that was hard. So when we got now the premium Ascend, now we can just send it with them and they have everything in a little capsule. So amazing.
So step two, now we've got the oils as the next building block. Now, we all know that we have two brains, okay? Our brain on our head and our brain in our gut. So I know the Xenobiotic, okay, our natural prebiotic fiber. Talk to me about it, guys. Again, step 3, it's a must-have in your armor when we're building this immune system that we're talking about right now. Talk to me about why you believe Xenobiotics is probably the best product out there in the world.
Well, I was surprised. I've always been using probiotics, and I studied it for a long time, and I became a nutritionist because that was what you do in functional medicine. Then this came, and I was talking to Paul Clayton. I was like, "Why are we having this instead of the probiotics?" And I said, "Well, because this is a prebiotic, so it's before." So what this does is it feeds you a natural probiotics so that you actually yourself have a greater chance of producing your own. And what it does is it makes the connection between the heart, the brain, and the gut much better. So even for athletes, not just because of the immune system, because the immune system, we know we have 70-80% situated around the gut, but also for better cognitive health. I believe that this product is state of the art, because not a lot of people are realizing that digestive issues are impacting them also mentally. So
I want to say quickly, guys, that all you do is just put it in some water, 2 scoops a day, put it in your water and drink it any time of the day or night, whichever you want. It's just a natural fiber to get into your gut and help that cleansing effect that you need within it. And it's that easy. So guys, it is so easy. You can mix it in anything. You can put it on your cereals. You can put it on bread. You can put it on anything you want, okay? It's amazing how it works and does go with any other type of food.
I would say even, Rob, I add it in the healthy pancakes that I make in the morning for my kids, because that's also a way to do it. So it can be added into anything, and it is something that goes very fast here in the house because it's everywhere for me.
So now, guys, that's the 3 core steps, okay, that we've got here in Australia. So balanced test, vitamin D, and balanced test, okay. Then you've got your omega oils, okay. So your balanced oils, premium or standard. Then we move into the prebiotic, the Xenobiotic. Now, if you're outside of Australia and you are so lucky to get access, or if you're inside Australia and you're lucky to get access to the following products, do yourself a favor. Like you, Anne, I take all the products every day. Okay, I just love the products. I've moved my whole regime across to Xeno products because I just find them working synergistically together and giving me, like you said, when I moved to the premium oil, I don't know what it was, but I just glowed a little bit better. Nails grew better. I can't say my hair grew. It does grow better. I have to believe it, and I've shaved twice a week now. I used to only shave twice a month, and my hair growth, which, I deliberately shaved my head, but, it grows so much quicker. It's crazy. It does drive me crazy. Okay, but guys, let's talk about that for one moment. The first step of the next part of the health protocol is the Extend or Extend Plus all natural product. And as a wellness nutritional multivitamin, I think it's a game changer in the industry. Your opinion?
Yes. And it's not just a multivitamin, Robert. I have to correct you. So it is so much more. And what I love about this product is that it has things in it that we don't find, well, we have to normally buy next to a regular vitamin product. So beta glucans, even also, I would say, especially also for athletes, are really important because that helps your immune system to be active all the time. And as we age, we have an immune system that maybe is not as quick to take action. So Extend is, for me, great for joints. It is great for immune system. But I have to say, even with tiredness, so fatigue, and also just knowing that it is a basic nutrition. So again, if you look at the pyramid that we talked about, for me, that is not a supplement. It is something that I can give my athletes. And I know if they take balance oil, if they take Extend, if they take Synbiotic, I know that I have provided them with the basic, the foundation when they're traveling and also at home. Because we know that in this modern world, it is not always easy to follow everything you need to follow. And I think that if you have just a few things that you can take every day, and then you are sure that you have enough, why not? And I think for athletes and for recreational athletes as well, very often I see them with a sport drink, I see them with bars, I see them with things where I'm like, why are you having this? So I would rather, instead of having, if I go to the gym for an hour, I see everybody around, walking around with some fluid that has some kind of strange color. And so, but I would rather have that they would spend money on a regime like this than spend money on something for an hour in a gym that is not helping them. It's very often full of sugar. When you're full of sugar, you actually also need to have more nutrients to be able to process sugar. So I would suggest to everybody, go away from all these processed things that is made and looks amazing. Just go away from them and incorporate a regime like Zinzino's, and you will, in a few months, you will feel so much better. You won't even believe it.
Fantastic. So guys, to wrap up on that, that is your health protocol, okay? Your health protocol is the key part of the balance, which is your oil, your xenobiotic, your Extend, balance test, and vitamin D test. That is the core to the program. In closing, because we've got about 1 minute to go, the next ones we've got XenoShine, Viva Plus, and also Protect. These are the next key steps to add to the protocol to enhance your immune system to get what is really required if you have any concerns about the pandemic that's happening, the immune deficiency that's happening around the world, or catching anything if you think your immune system is down in any way. These extra 3 products are game changers in the industry. Like we said, XenoShine adds to the vitamin D within your body. The incredible saffron or Afron in the Viva Plus product, all natural, unbelievable product from Japan, and it's the latest technology. The beta-glucans as well in your Protect Plus, it just builds that immune system to the next level. So these are complementary or supplementary products for the health protocol. Now, guys, if you want to find out more about them and like, the ingredients of all those products, straight up to zenzino.com, click on health, and then find all of the ingredients listings, the data sheets that are up there for you. And Dorthe, again, I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, and everybody around the world that's been tuning in over the last 35 minutes. could you just give us a 1 or 2 minute closeout as we close out this incredible call?
Yes, I would actually like you to go and have a look at Global Meeting of Minds, where we have Colin Robertson and Ina Marie Peterson, where they have a discussion around sports nutrition. So if this is interesting for you, go and find that one, because they have amazing information there. And there are several other things around where our people in Cincino are talking about it. But to just wrap it up, I find that having Cincino in my life has made me more curious and has made me wanting to become more of a scientist for my own health. So having tests at the price that we have them has made me be much more, even as a nutritionist, but even more interested in optimizing and doing what is better for me. So I think that is something now available for most people. And this is a way to actually take health in your own hands and don't have to rely on so many other things around you. This is a way to take your health to the next level. So my recommendation is go and do it. It's very easy.
Fantastic, Anne. And again, thank you so much. Guys, just don't forget, we have got so many wellness professionals talking. They love our products. We've got so many doctors out there that talk about our products and prescribe them as well. This is just the next generation, the next level of what's going to happen as we come out of this global pandemic, where everybody is just concerned about their immune system and they want to know how they rated, how their cellular structure is working, and whether they can get on a plane again and fly without having to catch any of the immune or airborne diseases that are out there in the world that have been around for a while. But now it's again everybody's mind saying, I want to make my body, my cellular structure be at its peak performance at all time. And thank you again so much. Look forward to having you again in the next number of months or over the next 6 months. Always a great pleasure to have a chat with you and see a presentation from you, because your information is truly inspirational. Thank you so much for being who you are, nutritionist, Olympic champion. Your husband's a Tour de France. It don't get much better than that. When you're watching this, share this information today, and let's go out and tell the world what we've got hold of. Thank you so much, Anne Dorthe.
Thank you, Rob.
Bye, guys. Appreciate you all.